Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Steven Singer Studios here at the Farzy Show. My name is Marc Farzetta. I remember I had this coach when I was at Archbishop Wood playing freshman basketball, and that coach's name was Ed McCormick. And my teammates and I, we always used to, this is what stuck out in our heads about our coach. When we weren't playing well, and there's a lot of that, but when we weren't playing well, coach would come into the locker room or even stop practice, and he would go, this was his move. He'd go, great guy. Ed's a great guy. As I look at my watch, I realize that we only have, let's see here, a month left in our season. Or we only have 2 months left in our season. As I look at my watch, that was the line. It was meant to say, hey, guys, the clock is ticking here. Time's ticking away. It's time to turn things around. As I look at my watch. And last night, I felt like Elaine Vigneault had a Coach Ed McCormick moment as I look at my watch type of thing. Now, he didn't say as I look at my watch, but the urgency was certainly there, and he wanted his team to have that urgency. But when he was asked after the game about his team having another slow start by Sam Carchidi of the Inquirer, Flyers beat writer, he said, no, it wasn't a slow start. No, we came out like we were ready to play. We came out like we were ready to do some things. Ivan Provorov had a shot blocked at about the 13-minute mark, and it went the other way for a goal, the first goal of the game by the Islanders, and the Flyers really couldn't do much in that period after that goal. They allow another goal scored after that. Sam Morin had the 5-minute major penalty called for boarding, and then the Flyers had another penalty that should have been called in their favor with Travis Sanheim's head being thrown into the boards. It wasn't called. The refs didn't see it the same way they saw Sam Morin, so that it is what it is. But there seems to be a time right now when you look at the Flyers like, guys, when are you going to get this going? And I think nobody really has faith that the Flyers are going to turn this around. I had mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I thought this team would still be a playoff team. They'd find a way to make the playoffs. But right now they got 17 games left. 17 games left this season. They got about 5 points they really got to make up. 6 points they really got to make up if you want to feel comfortable about them making the playoffs. And I had high expectations for this year, building off the momentum that they were able to establish in the bubble last year, building off the momentum that they were able to establish before lockdown, before shutdown last year. There were so many things that I thought they'd be able to put together this year. Nolan Patrick getting things going for himself in his career. Really, none of it's come to fruition. Carter Hart has underachieved this year. And to go back to Elaine Vigneault and things that he says after the game, we got two cuts you got to hear from Elaine Vigneault after the game. One, I think will frustrate Flyers fans, and the other will go, okay, I kind of get that. But in the last two games, he's been asked about Carter Hart's performance. And Carter has played, for the most part, I think, well in the last two games. But his team didn't play good enough to win. He allowed 2 goals last night. And then he obviously they lost the shootout where he allowed 1 goal. But when you watch Carter Hart, you see a guy who's playing very much more well within himself, is how I would describe it. He is not overextending. He's not flailing in net. He seems to be playing a very controlled style of hockey over his last 2 games. So that's good to see, at least from the goaltender. But Elaine Vigneault has really left any compliments out of the way. He hasn't gone out of his way, let's put it this way, to compliment his young netminder. And last night when he was asked about Carter Hart, it was like, yeah, he made some big saves for us, so that was good. He has been tight-lipped in trying to offer praise to his goaltender. I don't know if it's something about trying to keep a good head on the guy's shoulders. I don't know if it's something that he doesn't want to overextend and over-compliment. I don't know what it is. But I get the sense that Elaine Vigneault is losing confidence in Carter Hart. That's either that or it's just something he doesn't want to talk about, because when he does get asked about Carter Hart, tight-lipped is the way to describe it. I don't know if it's a lack of confidence. I don't know if it's just a matter of not wanting to build him up even more so. I don't know. Maybe he heard all the praise from last year and thought maybe that went to the guy's head. I would doubt that, and I would think it was more of the former when it comes to just not having a lot of confidence in what's going on right now with Carter and feeling like even if he is playing well right now, he doesn't want to almost jinx it in a way. He knows that it's been short-lived. We've seen flashes throughout the season of Carter Hart playing really well and then a long stretch of him playing bad. Now he's more in the category, I think Carter Hart is right now, of being in the category of playing better, playing at a higher level. Not playing great, not saving games for you, not being incredible in the crease, but simply just playing well, playing better. And I get the sense that Alain Vigneault either doesn't want to jinx it or just doesn't want to build up his netminder, or maybe even the fact, like I said earlier, he's just feeling as if he's got a goalie that is just extremely streaky this season. And it's almost like, let me just enjoy the borrowed time I feel like I'm on right now with my goaltender playing well before I go out of the way to praise him even more. It's been very few and far between the complimentary words from Alain Vigneault about Carter Hart over the last couple of games. And there are a couple of games that I think Carter Hart, again, has played rather well. Let's go to that penalty. The Sam Morin boarding penalty, I don't think happens if he's not in the corner. If they're not going around the ice there and getting into the corner and he gives a little shove in the back there, I don't think he gets a 5-minute major there. And also, if Sam Morin's not like 6'5" and a monster on the ice, I don't think he gets that penalty either. However, he got the penalty. Flyers somehow miraculously kill off the 5-minute major, and they don't allow a goal. Penalty kill looked incredible on that. They were able to control the puck through most of the way. Even got a scoring chance on it. So I thought after that, the Flyers would gain some momentum. Ended up not being the case. Later in the game, third period, they really start turning things on. A second period, another good second period as well. But it was really a matter of 3 minutes. 3 minutes in the first period that really ended up costing you this game. In those really 2.5 minutes, you really had the Islanders get both their goals in regulation, obviously. They get both their goals in those 2.5 minutes. And then after that, the Flyers had to kind of scramble to get back into the game again, playing from behind. To help us understand everything Flyers, Riley Cote, former Flyer, former coach down in the minors with the Phantoms. He's going to join the show from Nasty Knuckles as well. Their latest guest was Neil Little. I got believe it or not, big Neil Little fan. Me and my buddies, we saw Neil Little win a Calder Cup back in the day at the Spectrum, baby. So we'll talk to Riley Cote about Neil Little, former Phantoms goalie, and obviously had a cup of coffee up there at the big league level, if you will, with the Flyers. I remember Neil Little's first game with the Flyers. Carolina did not play great, but I remember he wanted to fight the other goaltender. That's what I remember. I can't remember who the goalie was for the Hurricanes, but there was a little bit of a brawl going on there on the ice, and I remember Neil Little pointing down and being like, well, let me go fight the other goalie if everyone's going to fight. And I remember, that's Neil Little. Anyway, so Neil Little joined the Nasty Knuckles guys. He's the latest guest on their podcast, so make sure you guys check that out wherever you get your podcast. Riley Cote will join us momentarily. We got some, believe it or not, we got some Pete Alonso sound I want you to hear. I missed this during the series against the Mets. Phillies are back in action against the Braves. We'll talk about that series as well. We also have the Sixers back in action tonight. We'll be getting into the Sixers conversation. Some NBA scores from last night we'll get into as well. And without further ado, I do want you to hear from Alain Vigneault after last night's game. Alain Vigneault was asked about those slow starts that a lot of people have talked about right now when it comes to the Flyers and how they like to start their season or start their games, rather. It was, well, let's just say the coach came to the defense of his players when it came to whether or not they had a slow start yesterday. Sam Carchidi of the Inquirer asked him about it, and it seemed like the Flyers bench boss took exception to slow start.
Well, it's not a slow start, Sam. I mean, we came out doing the right things. Unfortunately, Provy doesn't get that shot through, and then he's trying to take the pass away, and the shot goes off their stick, and finds the back of the net. And the second time he fell, lost an edge, and they had 2 shots and 2 goals. So not an easy situation to start. Not because our guys weren't doing the right things. We're going to make a few mistakes there, but we battled back hard. We're competing. We're trying every shift, and nobody put their heads down, trying to do the right things. Had a lot of shot attempts that didn't get through. Give them credit. They do a lot of the right things out there defensively, and it was a challenge for us.
As I look at my watch, type of deal with Alain Vigneault. As I look at my watch, at what point do you like? I give him a lot of credit for not wanting to throw his players under the proverbial bus and talk about an overused phrase in sports, but man, You got to acknowledge the idea of how many times they have to come back in games, down 3-0, down 2-0, scrambling to get back after these starts that aren't slow. And I get the question from Sam Carchidi, and I have the same thought. Yeah, you can play up tempo. Sure, you can have great effort. But if you're not producing, if you're not showing something on the bottom line there, then it's a slow start. I get that the energy's up. I get that you're trying to get pucks on net. And I know, as we referenced earlier, the Ivan Provorov shot from the point that gets blocked and it ends up being the first goal of the game for the Islanders as they take the 1-0 lead. I know that if that goes through, it's a different story, but it didn't. So where's the production? That's what the question is. Where is the production with the Flyers? It's not there. It's not there until they feel like their backs are against the wall. And right now their backs are against the wall when it comes to the season. So Alain Vigneault gets asked about struggles in March after the game. And he says, I don't want to talk about what happened in March. I can only talk about what happened tonight. So he doesn't want to go back to the really tough month of March. He just wants to stay in the present, more or less. And he gets asked about kind of how he controls his team and how he keeps his team from being frustrated when they don't get the production early in games. And now when they're looking up 5 points in a playoff spot, really, and they're looking at their last game against the Bruins. Now, that's the good news, by the way. We'll talk about that in a second. But with the 17 games left in the season, how does he prevent his team from really hitting that frustration point to the point of not being able to control their own destiny? Here's Alain Vigneault on his team and what they need to do going forward.
Not looking ahead, looking at what's in front of you. And what's in front of you is the game that you have to play. Tomorrow, we're going to have a quick skate. We got an afternoon game on Saturday against Boston. That needs to be our focus. So we're going to focus on Boston. We're going to focus on what we need to do to play well, to give ourselves a chance. I thought we played real good game that last game. I thought we deserved a better outcome. Their top players came through for them. We need to focus on our next game, and that's what we're going to do.
Take two more.
You can only play the game, the team in front of you, that whole thing. I don't know what Alain Vigneault can do at this point. We'll ask Riley Cote. One of the theories that we threw out yesterday was just the idea of not mixing and matching the lines as much as he has, trying to get these guys to have some consistency on the same line, knowing who their teammate is going to be on whatever move they're going to make. That's something that, is just an idea. But you had Claude Giroux come up and basically save you a game 2 games ago, which was great. Where's JVR been? Where's the heavy hitters been? Kevin Hayes, Travis Konechny got you a goal the other day. I'm just beside myself when watching this Flyers team going into the last 17 games of the season, thinking to myself, when's that high gear going to start? They had a great start to the season, and then after that, they had their COVID. They had their bout with COVID, and ever since then, it seems like this has been a totally different hockey team. Ever since that road trip that started out in that started out in Pittsburgh, where they had that little 3-game series, if you will, with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then really all season long, they have just struggled with Boston. So here's the good news that I referenced earlier. 17 games left. You have a long run against the Devils. You have like a 5-game series against the Devils, a bunch of makeup games. But you only have one more game, and that's this game coming up on Saturday that Alain Vigneault mentioned post-game. 1 game left against Boston. It's a 2:00 game on Saturday. Hopefully they get the win there, and hopefully that's the spark. But I just don't see it happening this year with the Flyers where they can catch lightning in a bottle and really make a run here with 17 games left. I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping that their best hockey is in front of them for the remainder of the season. I just don't see that happening. So fingers crossed. I'll root to be wrong, and hopefully all of us will be when it comes to the Flyers actually making the playoffs. So we'll talk to Riley Cote about that coming up in a minute. As for a team that is just blowing the doors off of us so far this season, 6 games into it, 5-1 on the season. I have been thinking about the conversation we had yesterday with Matt Breen of the Inquirer when it came to Rhys Hoskins and it came to Alec Boehm. One, Rhys Hoskins. Yeah, he ended the season before he got hurt. Ended the season, great tear, really putting up good numbers. Seemed like he was being more aggressive. Seemed like he had come into his own and all that, which was great. But then to hear about Alec Boehm's work ethic and how he bought, not rented, I like how Matt Breen pointed it out, not rented, bought a condo near Clearwater, Florida, so that he could go to the team's practice facility in the offseason to work on his defense. How he basically lived in the back pocket of Larry Boa, trying to become a better defensive third baseman. That is music to my ears when talking about a young man who's trying to make a name for himself in the big leagues, who has already, as far as I'm concerned, done that a little bit to the point where opposing pitchers know his report. They know his scouting report. They're aware of when he's coming up in the lineup. And I feel like he's only going to rise in that lineup. And hearing that he wants to put in that work defensively and that he already did it, and also seeing him come out early this season and look like a much more comfortable big league third baseman has given me so much more optimism surrounding this young man. Because if you go back to last year, we were talking about, oh, well, you trade Rhys Hoskins and you open up first base for Alec Boehm, you move him to first base, Hoskins leaves town, see you later, and that's that. It doesn't seem like it's going to be the case right now. I ain't moving Rhys Hoskins, and I'm certainly not moving Alec Boehm over to first base or moving him to the outfield or anything like that, because he looks comfortable. And that's all I was really looking for to start out this season. We talk about guys making major steps after they get their feet wet at the major league level or in a professional ranks. Ben Simmons, to change things up for a second. Ben Simmons, I'm not expecting him to have a jump shot mid-season. That would be a miraculous thing to happen. It wouldn't be miraculous if he went through a whole offseason and then came back to start the next year. Having that jump shot is part of his game. Alec Boehm taking a step forward the way he has defensively this season, looking as comfortable as he is, that is the equivalent to me to all of a sudden seeing Ben Simmons with a jump shot coming into a season. That is the equivalent to me. We were talking about trading Rhys Hoskins to move Alec Boehm to first base. Now nobody's moving. Not Rhys Hoskins, who's leading or second in the league at extra base hits. Not Alec Boehm, who actually looks comfortable as a third baseman, and I feel will only get better as a defensive third baseman. And you could have confidence in saying that because A, you've seen steps forward so far this year, and B, he's got even more time to try to improve as the season goes on. And you know the work ethic is there. I never bet against anybody who's got talent and a work ethic. And it seems like Alec Boehm certainly has both those things. So I'm looking forward to the Phillies getting back in action today in Atlanta, starting that series with the Braves, and you have Zach Wheeler back on the bump for the Phillies. So I am looking forward to that. Before we bring in our later, we'll let you hear from Pete Alonso, who, believe it or not, gave a nice little compliment to Philadelphia Phillies fans. I was not expecting that. That'll be part of our Morning Rush segment coming up in just a second. But first, before we get Riley Cote in here from Nasty Knuckles and, of course, former Flyer, I do want to tell you about my good friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. It's here. Steven Singer's brand new rose color is here. And it's just in time for Mother's Day with it being right around the corner. Steven's got your back. His famous real roses, dipped and trimmed in 24-karat gold, now come in sunshine yellow. How spectacular is that for Mom on Mother's Day? This new rose is a brilliant shade of yellow that dazzles with sparkles. Steven always likes to say he's in the love business because the man is in the love business. And this time, he wants to make sure everybody is feeling the love. In addition to brightening your loved one's day, Steven wants to put a little sunshine in everyone else's day. So he's continuing to use a portion of each rose sold to support local restaurants by catering meals for all the incredible nurses, doctors, first responders, and hospital heroes that have helped us out throughout the pandemic. Go now to IHateStevenSinger.com. Send a sunshine gold dip rose this Mother's Day. It's a win-win-win. Think about this. You give sunshine, put a little sunshine in the life of a loved one. Then you'll also be supporting local restaurants and thanking essential workers, and you'll feel good about doing it as well. You can't go wrong. They all come with a lifetime guarantee. Free personalized gift message, fast free shipping. Simply say, I love you, and honor your mom on Mother's Day. Go to IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price, the other corner of 8th and Walnut. So make sure you check out my friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. I hope my good buddy Riley Cote here on the Zatos Investments guest line is ready for this. I am Neil Little's #1 fan. And I don't know, it's probably me and then like family members of Neil Little. But that's how much I love Neil Little. Joining us right now on the Zatos Investments guest line, Riley Cote, Nasty Knuckles podcast. Wherever podcasts are available, get Nasty Knuckles. Him and Derek Settlemeyer, great job with that. Riley, welcome in and good morning, my friend.
Hey, Farzy, what's going on?
Did you know that? I am Neil Little's #1 fan.
I did not know that. No.
Boom. There's some knowledge for it. No.
He's a beauty. I can see why.
I was recalling his first game in the NHL, and I had already seen him win a Calder Cup with the Phantoms. And my buddies and I, we were at both Calder Cup championships in Philly with the Phantoms. We were at both games where they won the Calder Cup. And the first one was with Neil Little, if I recall correctly. Yep. And I remember after that, he got the call up maybe a year or two after that, got the call up to the Flyers and wanted to fight the opposing goaltender for the Carolina Hurricanes. There was a little bit of a brawl on the ice, and he said, you know what, the hell with it. If everyone's fighting, I want to go down there and fight that guy. I don't remember who he was, but I just remember Neil Little.
It was Arthur Zerbe. He talks about it in the podcast. Yeah.
I hadn't heard that part of the podcast yet. That's great. How was he as a guest for you guys?
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Always smiling, always telling stories. He's got a ton of them. Just an overall good human. So yeah, it was nice to reconnect with him.
I would probably nerd out over meeting Neil Little, and he'd probably be really scared of me. But anyway, so speaking of scary things, the Flyers they need about 5 points, 6 points to make up here in the standings. 17 games left. I took exception to something that Alain Vigneault said after last night's game. We played it for the audience earlier. It came down to, he was asked by Sam Carchidi about the slow starts. And Alain Vigneault took exception to it, saying they're not slow starts because the effort is there. The goals aren't, the production's not. I think that's kind of what Sam was getting at, saying that bottom line is you need production.
Yeah.
What can they do when it comes to just making that production happen for them early in games?
Well, I think what they can do is not get scored on early in games. It's like if the production's not there, at least come out of the first period 0-0. It's like if you give up 2 quick goals with like lack of coverage, you know what I mean? Yeah, the effort's there, but you said it's at the end of the day, it's about production. Yeah, and others scoring or not getting scored on. So, it's one of those things. It's hard to score goals in the NHL. There's no question about that. But it's on the other side of it, you got to defend better then. If you can't score, you got to defend. And, unfortunately, start off slow. The 5-minute major, they kill off. They get a ton of momentum out of it. And the game changes a little bit after that. But you just, 2 quick goals like that against a good team, it's hard to come back in those games, especially if you're going to try and do that consistently. It doesn't work.
We've talked about the defense all year long, and I want to get to the Sam Morant penalty in a second, but we've talked about the defense all season long. Does there ever come a point as a team where you guys look at each other and you say, all right, look, we know, like maybe you leave the defenseman out of it or whoever the problem is, and you're just like, all right, look, we know that we have an issue there. So over here, we got to make sure that we're scoring goals, we're getting pucks on net, we're being aggressive around the net, we're getting in the goalie's face. Like, does it ever happen like that where a conversation will be had saying, look, defense is what it is, we got to step it up where we have some more of our skill players, like Claude Giroux and Sean Couturier and Jake Voracek and those guys, Kevin Hayes, where offensively the forwards might say to themselves, we got to make sure we're putting on the pressure because we know the level our defense will play at.
Well, yeah, those conversations are every single day, right? I mean, defense isn't just the D core, right? It's the forwards as well. And when guys aren't back checking enough or over back checking like the one goal, or not scoring enough or not playing away from their net enough, I mean, that's all ties into the defense, right? So forwards are just, I say equally as responsible to helping the defenders out as the defense themselves. Yeah, obviously there's 6 defensemen back there that take the brunt of the of the negativity, but if the way I've always seen it and always been taught the game is that it's a 5-man unit, right? I mean, you have to back check, you have to have guys back, and not just being back. You actually have to have your stick in the lane and try and break up the play, and actually do something there. So to me, it's we could improve the actual D-core, and they need to. There's no question. But I think that, there could be some extra help from the forwards. And it always helps when guys are buzzing in the offensive zone where they're playing away from your own net, and then you're generating the offense, generating the momentum, and it's just less stress on the defenseman. So to answer your question, I think it's just playing away from your own net a little bit more, playing the offensive a little bit more. And I think they've been doing an actually better job at that, generating more offense, playing a little bit more in the offensive zone. But then when these situations come back, when there's an odd man rush and the puck comes towards Carter, whoever's in net, like they had 5 guys back yesterday, but they walked around with Lindblom, walked around the net, and then you're making a play right through the middle of the ice, and there's guys there. They're just not picking anybody up. So, the D need help from the forwards, especially when the question marks around the defense core are what they are. We got to help a little bit more and dig in a little bit harder.
Riley Cote joining us, Nasty Knuckles podcast. It does a great job with that and also breaking down Flyers for us here on the show every once in a while. And Riley, I've had these words just echo in my head all season long ever since you uttered them, which is basically that the Bruins own real estate. They live rent-free in the Flyers' heads. They got them off their back. They won a game against them. That was cool. And then they lost the following game against them. Not as cool. They got their last game against the Bruins coming up on Saturday, 2 o'clock. Just looking forward to the game ahead, as Alain Vigneault said after the game last night. What do you think happens in this game? Can it be the rallying point with 17 games left to go in the season?
Well, I'd like to think so. I think they're trending in the right direction. They're just running out of time. I think as an identity and as a team, they look better. I think adding Sam, he's adding some beef back there, some sort of stable physical presence. I know he's been, he's been fined and now he got a game of Skonic yesterday, but they responded. They killed the penalty off. They scored, a couple shifts after. So there's to me, and Hag played pretty good game, I thought, and there's some pieces there that are trending in the right direction. But again, you said 17 games, and you're going up against some of the best opponents in the East here, so they have to bring their A game for the next 17 games. There's no question. They can't give away points like they have been, even on their great effort nights. Like they have to come out with 2 points and not give any other points away, and that's what's happening right now. So. To me, the last couple of games look better. So taking that game plan, whatever it lands up being, I think they say they're more go-to guys have been more involved. Voracek's being more involved. G's looking like he's really dialed in. Carter Hart's playing better. The defense core looks better. It really does. They really do. So but showing flashes of that, it's not good enough. It has to be 60 minutes and then that game's over and then 60 more minutes and 60 more minutes. So they have a real test in front of them here, but no better time to shine than now.
All right. Now I know here's the good thing about not being in the league right now. You can say whatever you want about the officiating. Sam Morin, that penalty, I felt like it all just came down to being in the corner. And if it wasn't in the corner, that penalty doesn't happen. What did you make of it? Right call? Too much to say that it was a major? What did you make of Sam Morin's penalty?
Yeah, it's not a major penalty in my opinion. He was in a vulnerable position to some degree, but it's a hockey play. As the guy with the puck, you got to know who you're going up against. First of all, the guy's 6'6" and 230 pounds. Not putting yourself in a bad spot, maybe getting a little tighter to the boards. But also to me, it wasn't it wasn't a boarding. It was more of a shove. Right. And, unfortunately there was about, 4 or 5 feet between the boards and the shove. But, to me, you gave him a penalty, but in a 5-minute major in a game of misconduct, it's a little aggressive. And I think it's just, more because of who he is and the size and whatnot. But to me, that's just a hard hockey play. You know who you're going up against in the corners. You should anyways. To me, it's just it's a missed call. It was just calling the injury, and the guy comes back with 2 shifts later. So I don't know. I don't agree with it.
Okay, you and I are on the same page there, and I'm not Riley. I swear to you, I am not a conspiracy theorist. However, if I am going to buy into one conspiracy theory in the world of sports, it's that the Flyers still are paying for the sins of the 70s in the NHL's eyes. And a perfect example of that conspiracy theory is Travis Sanheim gets his head rammed into the boards. A couple of minutes later, nothing, no call there. Did you see that play by chance? And did you think that should have been a penalty?
Yeah, I think it just goes back to consistency. The officiating's got to be consistent with the calls. If you're going to call that, you got to call the one on Sanheim. And I think Sam is fresh in the league again. He's kind of making a name for himself. He got fined. He's got a couple big fights. I think they're really trying to take that element out of the game. They're trying their best, and it lands up being an orange and black jersey. So therefore, I think they're going to be a little bit harder on these guys. So, but at the end of the day, it needs to be about consistency. There's two teams out there. We're not the Broad Street Bullies anymore. We have to be a little bit more efficient with that and just more honest with that. But yeah, if you're going to call Sam's penalty a major, you got to call some of this other small stuff then.
So back to that, because growing up, it was always like, what the Flyers need to do? They need to fight more. Like that was like kind of like our answer for everything. But now, obviously, as you know very well, the game has changed. I don't need to tell you that. And one of the things that I really like about Sam Morin is the energy. The fighting is actually, I'm like, okay, he fought. Fine. I didn't like the time he picked to fight, but he fought. Fine. The thing that's impressed me more so is his energy on the ice and how he's playing like a guy who's 25 years old, just getting his real first NHL experience finally after being a high draft pick. I love that type of energy from him. I love the guy's attitude in general. What has jumped out to you about Sam Morin's play?
Well, it's exactly that. I think he's making the first simple play. And I think, it sounds so obvious, but a lot of guys want to complicate the game. They want to do more than they should in that specific situation, and they get themselves into trouble. I think Sam struggled with that because he's a first round pick, and he always wanted to do more than he needs to, right? And at least for now. But he's a confident guy. He's a strong guy. He loves the game. He's passionate. He's got a ton of enthusiasm. His teammates love him. He's got a long pool skimmer of a stick that he can break up plays. He actually really has a lot of good pieces. It's taken some time to piece it all together with his injuries and whatnot. And then the added physicality is gravy, in my opinion. He can go pound some guys when the time is needed. And he probably needed that a little bit earlier in the season, but yeah, to me, he just exudes what you'd want out of a Flyers defenseman. He's a good 6 defenseman. Again, he's making the 5-foot, 10-foot pass, little pop plays. He's not trying to carry the puck up the ice, like Ghost or Provy or whoever else. He's just making those plays. He's getting the opportunity to shoot. He puts the puck at the net, and he's playing physical. To me, he in every game he looks more solid. And unfortunate these calls that he's been getting, but nonetheless, to me, I like what I'm seeing.
Riley Cote joining us here. Check him out, obviously, Nasty Knuckles podcast. You mentioned Carter Hart earlier. It seems like every post-game press conference now, Alain Vigneault is kind of tight-lipped on Carter Hart. I don't know if it's a matter of not wanting to overpraise him, a matter of not having that much confidence in him, or feeling like he's on borrowed time with the stretches where he plays well. What have you made of Carter Hart over the last couple of games here since he's come back from his essential week off of playing games?
Yeah, I think sometimes you're taking a couple of days off there. They give him 2 games off and just get back to basics and practice and kind of just reconfigure, and just settle. I think it's been good for him. I like what I'm seeing. Again, I don't think necessarily he's been the problem the whole year. I think he's kind of taking the brunt of it because of holes in front of him, but nonetheless, he could be better, obviously. And then, in saying that, there's been a couple squeakers, maybe one yesterday. I think that the one, the short side there, he probably should have been tighter on his post, but that's just me being, critical, coming from the coaching perspective. But nonetheless, I think he looks more confident. There's a lot to build off. I think AV is not overly talking much about it, is because, again, it's like highs and lows. We're just trying to find that, like, that middle ground of just like consistency. So yeah, he has a good game. It's like we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. It's because it's like they're still outside of a playoff spot here, and there's a lot of improvement. So it's just like little steps, little wins, and he again, he's a young guy, just like any other young guy. You have ups and downs, and I think this year is a learning experience, not just for him but for the entire team. But knowing Carter Hart and the way he's wired, this guy will rise above. I mean, he is really tapped in mentally, and he's going to continue to learn from these experiences and get better. So,
I have certainly noticed, as you have, I think the better play since he did have those 2 games off, still putting in the practice, still putting in the work there, but definitely seems like a much better goaltender since then. One of the guys that Alain Vigneault did mention the other day was Claude Giroux, and how he has been the most consistent Flyer this season in terms of effort, in terms of production, what you get from every single night, and even at practice. What have you seen from Claude? Because I know a lot of fans want to always look at the captain when the team's struggling. It's like goaltender, captain, and fight more. Those are like the 3 things
right.
we complain about the most. But when you've watched Claude Giroux this season, what have you seen from him as a leader?
Yeah, exactly what you said. I mean, this guy, again, if you really watch him closely, he makes really high-end plays. I mean, look at that pass that he made to Voracek yesterday. It's a backhand under pressure and partial 2-on-1. Not saying that that's like the only thing he's done. Like, that is like just shows you like how he makes plays under pressure all the time. And I know he's more of a passer than a shooter, and when things don't go well, they want to rip on him, like want to compare him to Sidney or Ovechkin or whoever else, and he's done and this and that. But I mean, this guy performs on a high level. He's always been in great shape. He keeps getting better. And I think he's probably even learning how to be more of a leader too, taking on that role and realizing he has to show up every single night. And, you're only as good as your best players. Your horses have to be your horses. And, and I see that with him, even though he does have a couple, some droughts here and there, but he's pretty consistent as far as point production all the time. And then you look at a guy like Voracek. I think Voracek was kind of quiet there for several games, and now he's picking it up. So you got another one of their go-to guys, one of your leaders that's putting up some points and being noticeable in games, and then it just really helps the team build. When your go-to guys aren't going, it's hard. But G has always been like quietly effective, and I don't think he gets enough praise in my opinion. He works his ass off. He cares, and again, you're not going to find a guy that can pass the puck much better than he can.
Before I totally nerd out on you getting to interview Neil Little, I want to ask you this: shootouts in hockey.
Hate them.
Okay, all right, you hate the shootout. See, here's the thing: I hate that overtime's not 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Okay, so if I had to solve a problem in the NHL, first off, I hate ties. I go to a game to see somebody win or lose. So I'd rather keep a shootout, but add 5 more minutes to overtime. Would you be in for that kind of negotiation? Or go back to ties?
No, I mean, in a perfect world, you just play a 3-on-3 until they score. I mean, you're not going to go more than 10 minutes without scoring a goal. There's no question. I mean, the high-end skill in the league, 3-on-3, the open ice, the amount of chances they generate, there's no possible way you can go 10 minutes without scoring a goal in 3-on-3. To me, at least you lose on a hockey play. You lose in a shootout, it's just like it's hard. It's a tough one to swallow. You battle your ass off for 65 minutes, and then you're going on a no pressure, skill play. To me, that I've been a part of those losses and wins before. It's not quite the same feeling. You lose on a 3-on-3 play. There's some hockey sense involved. There's effort involved. There's the grunt work. There's making mistakes, not making mistakes, defending, offense. To me, that's still hockey play. That's the way the game's got to end.
All right. So would you be on board then? Like, would you go back to the tie, or would you just add 5 minutes and then if it's still, have a 10-minute overtime and then still have a shootout if they don't score?
Well, yeah, if it had to be one to choose, then add the 5 minutes. So you go 10 minutes of overtime, and I would think the game would be solved in that 10 minutes. And then if it did not, for some odd reason, then go to a shootout. But to me, if you give an extra 5 minutes, the game will be solved in the overtime.
Riley, I feel like you and I just solved a big problem for hockey. You're welcome, NHL.
Right.
All right. So obviously, you've known Neil Little for a while. You have a conversation with him. You and Nasty. Great conversation. I caught a couple of highlights from it. People got to check it out. Nasty Knuckles. From your conversation, what would you like to tease for the good people when you guys had your interview with Neil Little?
Well, he talks about the epic brawl and the flying goalie incident in Binghamton, New York, there back in the day. Most people have probably seen it. It was at some point of their life. He talks about what he's doing with the Florida Panthers and scouting. He was working for the Flyers previous to that, and his evolution in the role. Just some good stories of the Calder Cup championships, working under Billy Barber and how hardcore Billy was, but how Billy, as old school as he was, how kind of like pick Neil up and kind of give him that confidence that he was missing when he first kind of came in the American Hockey League. So some really good stuff, is stuff that I hadn't heard before. Obviously I experienced the second Calder Cup there with him, and he was more of a backup to Antero Niittymaki, but nonetheless a huge part of the team. So it was just nice to reconnect on some of those experiences together.
That's awesome, man. I'll be checking out the rest of that podcast, and I'm sure most people will be doing. All Flyers fans should. And if you're like me and you want to nerd out over some Phantoms hockey, it's definitely a good one to do that with. Riley Cote, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Are the girls going crazy right now, or are they watching like Frozen or something?
No, they're still sleeping. So yeah, I'm just gonna get this work out of the way before they get up, and we're good.
That a guy. Riley, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you coming on, talking some Flyers hockey with us on the Zatos Investments guest line. Thank you, Riley.
Thanks, Farzy. See you soon.
Thank you, brother. See you soon, brother. Appreciate you. Riley Cote joining the program. You got to love the guy. Breaking it down like no other. Doing a great job every single time. It's always a pleasure to be able to talk to Riley. when he comes on with us. So it's much appreciated. On the Zatos Investments guest line, nonetheless. I love what he had to say about the captain. Love what he had to say about Claude Giroux. That is a guy that you never have to question his effort, certainly. But when it comes to the forwards and it comes to the defensemen, you got to worry about both when it comes to actually playing the defense on this team. How many times have we talked about so far this Flyers season about the forwards winning battles along the boards and how that's been an issue for this Flyers team? That comes down to the forwards, obviously. That comes down to a lot of how they handle the puck in the offensive zone. You can't turn it over the way they have this season. So that's definitely a fair critique to make, and I'm glad that he's seeing the same thing that I think a lot of people are seeing right now when it comes to Carter Hart and how he has played better since coming back from those. I don't like, again, call them off days. They gave him off from playing in the game. But after that, he was still working in practice and all that, trying to work on all the things that he needed to work on to come back and be stronger. So you've seen him play a lot better recently, and I'm glad he's seeing that. As far as this team making the playoffs over the next 17 games, they're going to have to make a lot of improvements, and it's going to have to be a huge about face from how we've seen them play all year, but hopefully it starts Saturday, 2 o'clock against the Boston Bruins, a team that they have obviously struggled against all season long and only have one win to show for it. Before we go any further, I'll let you hear a little bit from Pete Alonso, talk some Sixers as well, what we hope to see tonight against the Pelicans, and also give you our big bets and our social media check-in. I do want to tell you about our friends at DraftKings. Basketball teams entering the final month of the regular season, and they're gearing up for the playoffs. Well, some teams are locks already to make the postseason. Others are still fighting for their opportunity to chase the trophy this summer. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting you in the center of the action with a chance to turn $1 into $100 in free bets. Turning $1 into $100 is simple. Pick any basketball team to win their next game, and if during that game the team of your choosing hits a 3, you can bring home $100 in free bets. That's right, $100 in free bets. 100 to 1 odds if the team of your choosing simply hits a 3, and that's how you can win. Teams are just crushing the three-point line this season, unprecedented rate, even for today's NBA. So make sure you get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. DraftKings, safe, secure, reliable, so you can easily deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy to turn $1 into $100 in free bets if the basketball team of your choosing hits a 3. That's promo code Farzy to turn $1 into $100 in free bets. Limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And how about our friends at Zatos Investments, the up-and-coming luxury real estate development and investment company in Philadelphia area? You got to follow them on Instagram. Follow them on social media. Zatos Investments. They show some of their properties on there. You can check them out. Some of the new construction they're doing as well. Some of their already established development. It's just awesome. They're doing great work in Philadelphia. They're crushing the real estate game right now. They got townhomes, condo buildings, new construction. You name it, Zatos has it. Top-of-the-line custom homes as well, ranging from small single-family rehabs, ground-up new construction, like I mentioned, and condo buildings. Zatos also works closely with the private investor base to provide them with substantial returns on their investment, ranging from 20 to 40%. Like I said, they're crushing it in Philadelphia right now. To learn how you can invest with Zatos, go to ZatosInvestments.com or hit them up at info@ZatosInvestments.com. That's info@ZatosInvestments.com. Or, like I said, visit them at ZatosInvestments.com. Something else you have to check out, Steak and Maine. Fine dining in the heart of Northeast Maryland. Whether you dine in a more upscale steakhouse or a casual bar patio, you'll enjoy their highest quality prime meats, fresh seafood, world-class oyster bar, and freshly prepared sushi. All that at an extensive wine list. If you like a nice little wine pairing, like a bottle of wine, try their extensive wine list and also Cavada Cellars wines. The Cavada family, from their family to yours. Tony Cavada, my man that runs the place, does a great job, and this wine is absolutely out of this world. Open every day for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch as well. Steak and Maine in Northeast Maryland, voted #1 place for steaks in America by the Travel Channel and the Cooking Channel. Check it out for yourself. Go to steakandmaine.com. That's steakandmaine.com for more information. Now it's time for our social media check-in, brought to you by our good friends at Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com in the heart of Northeast Maryland. Riley is great. Appreciate you when I hear you. Glad you're still tied in with the Flyers. How could you not be? I mean, Riley Cote does a great job breaking down hockey. He's coached up a lot of these younger guys as well. He's a pleasure to talk to. Absolutely a pleasure to talk to. Carter Hart, please don't hurt us. That's from John. The previous quote was from Jack. John's checking in now. Carter Hart, please don't hurt us. I think that's referencing the fact that we have watched young talent in this city before that has unfortunately disappointed us. I did a guest spot on a show the other day, and I was asked to compare Carter Hart and Carson Wentz. And I know that's a conversation, a narrative that has started up. I can't think of a more lazy narrative, to be honest with you. And one that just doesn't belong. That is like, when we started this show, I said I wanted to get away. I wanted to protect people from hot takes. And really, that has been my goal since the art of the piping hot take has begun, that I hate BS. Honestly, I hate BS. And I don't want to ever BS people. And I want to protect people from BS because it can be frustrating for all of us. So when it comes to that hot take that's out there about, Carter Hart, Carson Wentz, like Carson Wentz gave us reason to believe an MVP caliber season. In that season, the team went on to win a Super Bowl with their backup. Yeah. Also was able to play through a fracture in his back, got the team to the playoffs almost single-handedly in 2019, and then everything fell apart this past football season. Like, we at least gave Carson Wentz like 4 years to really try to judge him as a quarterback in Philadelphia. Now you're going to watch one season with a 21-year-old Carter Hart and say, end all be all, just as on that same judgment level as Carson Wentz. What, are you kidding me? Like, that is jumping at a hot take. That is reaching and jumping for a hot take. Like, there's no room for that right now. And now he's 22 years old, and you want to put him on the same level as a guy like Carson Wentz. Yeah, no thanks. Can I at least see if he can bounce back? We at least saw if Carson Wentz could bounce back. 2019, he bounced back from the injury, got the team in the playoffs at the end of the season. And then last year, everything fell apart to the point where he's not even here anymore. So before we run Carter Hart out of town, proverbial speaking, not that we did that with Carson Wentz, that was more of an organizational thing. But before we jump to that piping hot BS, not even going to honor it by calling it a hot take, let's at least have the guy finish out a season. Let's have him play a little bit and actually, not just go, wow, he's really great. Now he sucks. Get him out. At least with Carson Wentz, it was, wow, he's great. Oh, wow, they're going to win a Super Bowl without him. Oh, wow, he's hurt and he's out. Nick Foles is back. Oh, wow, he got us back into the playoffs. Oh, wow, he got us to the playoffs. And then he got a concussion. Before we jump to the conclusion that we did with Carson Wentz with Carter Hart, let's at least Carter Hart, hit the age of 23, maybe. Anyway, that's my. John's checking back in saying, I'm sorry, I have abandonment issues. Don't do it, Farzy. Please don't do it. No, I'm not doing it. That's BS. I'm not giving you BS. That's not what this program's for, people. All right, let's check. Well, a lot of comments today. I appreciate you people checking in. Taylor apparently has my same affection for Carter Hart, or for Neil Little. Excuse me. Yeah, I'll nerd out. If I met Neil Little, I would go probably full fanboy. Trying to think of the last time I went full fanboy. I met Marc Vetri, the chef. Love Marc Vetri. I went fanboy over that. I don't go fanboy over. I go fanboy over like the most stupid stuff. Yeah, we'll get that in a second. So I'm a little bit different, I guess, in that category. I don't know. But I'd totally nerd out over Neil Little. Just to let you know that would happen. That was from Taylor checking in. Mally checking in. Terrible defense with the Flyers. I agree. Ever since someone said, you say Alain Vigneault's name so eloquently, I just live for you saying his name. Alain Vigneault. That's how you say his name. I'm not putting stank on it. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, Alain Vigneault. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not like one of those people that took French in high school, right? I took Spanish because it was useful. Anyway, far as what WTF this nonsense with the Flyers. I wish I had a better answer for you. I'm trying to figure it out. Since I used your promo code for DraftKings, do you refund me? Henry, I'm sorry, that's not how it works, but try to bet better next time, I guess. Wheeler is such a great signing that I feel like he isn't appreciated. That's from Mac. Zach Wheeler, I would kind of agree with you on. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think people are waiting for him to hit a wall in the first half of the season. What else do we got here? Hockey lingo. He's a beauty. Laugh out loud. I tried to work in snapping biscuits. Snapping biscuits? Snapping biscuits. Because that's something that the Nasty Knuckles boys taught me. Broads checking in. What's up, Broadsy? Hey, Nasty, if you're seeing this. Yeah, so we've done a couple of Flyers post-game instant reaction shows. Me, Sports Talk with Broads, the Nasty Knuckles guys. And yeah, we're not trying to out you guys. All right. We want to actually do a dual thing. We're going to do another post-game show soon. Don't you worry, people. What else do we got here? Thought G had it in the third shootout. John's checking in. Okay, so if you didn't see if you didn't see Claude Giroux's shootout attempt, he looked like he wanted the fake going between his own legs and going top shelf, which would have been a sick goal. Didn't work out. Pulled the puck back. Tried to go, I think, stick side, and he just ended up missing it, unfortunately. But it was a nice try. I will say that. It was a very interesting. Michael is saying Rhys Hoskins NL MVP. Yeah, sure. Let's party. I'm not going to say no to that. Thanks to everybody checking in on our social media check-in, brought to you by our good friends at Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. Now time for our Morning Rush segment. Morning Rush segment brought to you by Sky Motorcars, skymotorcars.com. Car for every budget. They also help out a lot of athletes in our town as well. I'll open it up with this. I didn't see this. This was before, or maybe I was after the first game of the series. The Mets, Pete Alonso, who I was actually just singing the praise of yesterday because he was on one of my favorite shows, Meat Eater. It's a hunting show. No, I'm a nut hunter, but it's a cool show. And Pete Alonso came out and actually had something nice to say about Philadelphia fans because he was asked about playing in front of fans finally for the first time in over a year. Here's Pete Alonso on that.
I don't think I've ever been like that happy to see a bunch of Philadelphia Phillies fans. I mean, they were really enthusiastic. They were into the game, and it was awesome. It was fun. I mean, I know that they were booing us, but I mean, I missed that in a way.
Imagine missing boos. There has to be something to that, right? Like that. Like he does love playing in front of the fans, and he said that in other interviews how he gets the energy. Like a lot of people, get the energy off the fans. Joe Girardi even said that having the fans in the stadium just gets that energy, and he hears his own players talking about that in the dugout about how the fans are just giving them energy and they just pump them up. So Pete Alonso saying that, and you have to think if you're a professional athlete worth anything, somebody hating on you has to be motivating. Like, I'm sure there's some people that obviously get intimidated by that. A lot of people get intimidated by that. But Pete Alonso welcomes that. He's like, yeah, I'm actually excited to see Philadelphia fans, even if they're letting us hear it. So I appreciate that compliment that he's giving Philadelphia, that he's actually looking for. I've never been more happy to see Philadelphia fans booing us. Like, yeah. Hey, good for him, man. I hope he strikes out. Don't get me wrong. Every at-bat he ever has against the Phillies. But to kind of give us a hat tip like that, I do appreciate that, no doubt. If you didn't hear it yesterday, I talked about big bets. I talked about Dustin Johnson, not such a great start for the defending champion at the Masters. Rory McIlroy was a guy that definitely intrigued me going into this Masters tournament here. Because he's a guy that's been under the radar so much over the last couple of years, really, it feels like now with Rory McIlroy, now that I think about it. But Rory McIlroy goes up in the Masters yesterday, hits an approach shot that goes to the right of the green. It plunks a spectator. It looked like in the calf. And the guy just walked it off. It looked like an older silver-haired gent. And he just kind of looked at it and walked away. It was Rory McIlroy's father. That's who he hit with his approach shot, as fate would have it. I guess that's the history that I was predicting that Rory McIlroy would make. Who knows? Also, my man, who, like me, is also a Puma guy when he golfs, and that's Bryson DeChambeau. Not such a strong start yesterday. Had a couple of, he reminded me of me, not just with the Puma gear, but reminded me of me on the golf course yesterday. Was not exactly accurate with his drives or putts for that matter. He had a tough day on the course, but look forward to following the rest of the Masters throughout the weekend, and I'm sure a lot of people look forward to following that as well. What else did I have for you today? Some NBA scores. Always like to give you some NBA scores with the Sixers getting back in action tonight, 8 o'clock tip-off against the Pelicans. Hopefully just more dominance from Joel Embiid. I feel like Joel Embiid, who is, by some people's standards, really fallen out of the MVP race. I'm not willing to push him aside yet. I know he missed 3 weeks, but if we know anything about Joel Embiid, if people on the national stage are starting to doubt him, guess who's about to put on a show? Joel Embiid. I meant to check his over-under for tonight, going up against the Pelicans. I'll check that out, but it might be worth going the over tonight. I feel like Joel Embiid wants to put on a show for people. But as far as the games go for last night, Heat got another win. Their 110-104 win over the Lakers. So the Lakers fell. Jimmy Butler, 28 points in that game. Raptors fell again last night, 122-113 to the Bulls. Cavaliers, actually, I'm glad I'm not doing the Cavaliers thing. I said I was going to ride the Cavaliers. I'm not doing that right now. They won last night over the Thunder, 129-102. Mavericks beat the Bucks. So the Bucks fell last night. They're now 32-19 on the season. The Mavericks are 160. Well, they won 116-101 over the Bucks. And then the Clippers were able to get a win last night, 113-103 over the Suns. The Suns had been on a bit of a run in that regard. Sixers going into tonight. That was our Morning Rush segment brought to you by brought to you by Sky Motorcars and SkyMotorcars.com. Do want to get our big bets segment in today. I do have our big bet for tonight. That is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and get in on all the action DraftKings has to offer. Big bets for tonight. Looking at the Sixers game, Sixers are going into this game tonight against the Pelicans in New Orleans. Right now at a -8. I actually like the Sixers covering that tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and bet that game. Trying to find for you Joel Embiid's over-under, if they even have that, if they have it out tonight. I would assume it's around 28 in a game like tonight. I'm trying to get this for you, folks. My apologies. I meant to get this for you before the show. Didn't work out like that, unfortunately. Not seeing the points just yet. But wait, I'm an idiot. Am I an idiot? I'm pretty sure I'm an idiot. I repeated kindergarten. That's a fun fact about me. I know this is riveting. My apologies. Yeah, I'm not seeing it just yet when it comes to the point total, but I will be keeping an eye on that and make sure you do with the DraftKings Sportsbook app when it comes to Joel Embiid total. But I do like the Sixers. That's my bet tonight. Sixers -8 against the Pelicans. So make sure you take advantage of that tonight. That's my big bet for this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, fun show today. Hopefully you get a Sixers win. Hopefully the Phillies continue their stride tonight with Zach Wheeler on the hill against the Braves. And let's hope that Saturday is that turnaround that we've been begging for from the Flyers. Would mean a lot to the standings right now for the Flyers. So hopefully they'll be able to turn that around and get things going. Pleasure speaking with you guys as always today. Thanks for everybody that followed the show. We were back on YouTube today. People that followed us on Twitch, all our social media platforms. Make sure on our YouTube page you guys subscribe and enjoy the show throughout. Be back with you guys on Monday morning. Jim Hyden produced the program. This is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. My thanks to everybody who followed along. We'll be back with you guys on Monday morning. Have a great weekend, everybody. From the Steven Singer Studios, I'm Marc Farzetta. It's the Farzy Show. Take it easy, everybody.